Before we talk about any kind of weapon tier list in Apex Legends, it's really important that we talk about some of the other factors governing weapon placements in a separate video entirely. There's three major factors that contribute to weapon tier placements that we're going to be discussing today, and while they're not all-encompassing, they do paint the big picture of what's really going on across all of Respawn's shooters thus far. In my opinion, movement speed while aimed down sights is more often than not synonymous with success in games like Apex Legends. The ability to abuse small hitboxes and the generally superior female strafing animations present in Respawn shooters is much more pronounced with guns that can be reliably fired from the hip or that are not punished by aiming down sights. They don't have a movement speed penalty while aimed down sights. Anything that lets you AD strafe, move left and right very quickly, and have a very janky, very weird and awkward hitbox is always good in Respawn shooters. So, which weapons in Apex Legends let you move at the best speed? Well, your movement speed hierarchy ranks like this, with only some pistols offering full movement speed while being aimed down sights. Full movement speed is defined as the same movement speed as you'd have walking normally with a gun out, but without sprinting or aiming, just standard holding your gun and holding W. For all characters currently in the game, that speed is 173.5 UPS, or units per second, demonstrated on PC by using this launch command. After pistols, the hierarchy of ADS walk speeds from highest to lowest goes as follows: shotguns, SMGs, assault rifles, LMGs, and then finally sniper rifles. The RE45 actually has its own unique ADS walk speed, which is somewhere between pistols and shotguns for reasons unknown by anyone. You're also going to notice that the differences between each of these class of weapon is actually pretty significant, which in my opinion plays a pretty big role in the likelihood that a gun ends up being top tier. But why is all of this important? What's the actual impact? Well, we're getting there. Let's wind the clock back 5 years first and look at Respawn's history with shooters in order to better understand why this game is the way that it is. Let's look at Respawn's first game ever, Titanfall 1. In this title, a few things reign supreme: SMGs, the EVA 8, the R101, Wingman, Stim, and the female player model. SMGs boasted fantastic times to kill, great hipfire, and full walking speed while aimed down sights. Quick reload and ADS speeds were just a bonus on top of that. The Wingman offered one-shot headshots, two-shot body shots with perfect ADS accuracy, and full ADS walking speed. The EVA was brain-dead easy and performed shockingly well at range, while the Wingman was so good in and of itself when paired with that gun that you weren't missing out on too much by rolling a shotgun instead of an SMG. Plus, it never required being aimed down sights. You could hipfire it full walking speed. The R101, predecessor to Apex's R301, gave up a little bit of walk speed, sure, to gain excellent range performance, but didn't cut your speed so much that you were completely helpless. From the range that you would engage with the R101, AD strafing, or more plainly stating left-right strafing like we alluded to earlier, was still fast enough for you to safely dodge bullets, especially when combined with both Stim and the female pilot's superior animations. Stim was the big thing. It is an ability that would increase your ground-based movement speed. It also forced you to heal over time, even when you had no damage taken, so you would have 100 health, you would take 25 damage per bullet, so you would normally die in 4 shots, but if you activated Stim, then you would start healing, and you would actually take 5 bullets to kill instead of 4, while being more evasive, and it was a crazy good ability. So this kind of stuff is just really good in Respawn shooters, right? Anything that increases your ground-based movement speed, anything that lets you AD strafe better, is really, really powerful in games like this. Let's take a look at a clip from 4 years ago, comparing strafing animations between male and female player models. It's pretty plain as day to see which one has the better animations and which one would be significantly harder to hit. When you add Stim into the mix, this is just made even more apparent. Stim all day, every day was the correct choice in Titanfall 1. And now, has this really changed in Apex Legends? Is it really any better? Has Respawn learned their lesson? I'll leave that one up to you to decide. Anyways, getting back to our original point, SMGs, pistols, stim, female player models, there's something in common with all of these choices. Speed, evasiveness, ease of use, and reliability. All of these choices were just straight up better than anything else in the vast majority of situations. You would even abscond damage in times to kill or DPS in favor of these factors in most situations. Now let's jump forward a couple years to Titanfall 2. What's changed? Well, SMGs for the most part still maintained their position as king. Female player models were still smaller than males, still had better animations, but they were less prominent than Titanfall 1. Stim was crazier than ever, offering a massive speed boost over Titanfall 1 Stim. The addition of grapple made just about every competent player unhittable in most situations, since the speeds you were able to get with that grapple were too high for a game running at such a low tick rate. Even though a few things seem to be changed, nothing really changed. AD strafing was still not touched. You still wanted the guns that gave you the best balance of speed, accuracy, or reliability, but not necessarily the best damage. You wanted the hitbox that's the hardest to hit, and you want the abilities that let you move as fast as possible, as often as possible. Now, let's jump back into the real reason that most of you are here. Apex. Has anything changed? Some of the current best weapons include the R99, the Wingman, the Prowler Auto, R301, Peacekeeper, and EVA 8. Does this sound familiar to you? Because it sounds very familiar to me. These are all weapons that offer excellent balances of speed and accuracy for their effective ranges and have excellent time to kill and reliability. The best legends, take a wild guess. Lifeline, Wraith, Octane, Pathfinder, and Bangalore. All these legends have a combination of small hitboxes, favorable animations, and or speed boosts. While so much has changed and each game plays differently, the core fundamentals remain. In respawn shooters, you always want the smallest hitbox with the best animations and the fastest move speed you can get. Tactical and defensive style abilities always have, and likely always will be, second rate by comparison. So now that all this history is out of the way, how does this apply to guns? Why aren't you talking about the Spitfire, Frothy? Why not Spitfire, Frothy? In my opinion, rifles and LMGs have their place in Apex Legends, but in a lot of cases should be used as specialty or resource weapons, not as the primary gun you always reach for. In a direct one-on-one fight, where both players start aiming and shooting at each other at roughly the same time, they're both aware of each other, it's a straight-up duel. You don't want to be caught with your pants down aiming an assault rifle or an LMG. Your move speed while aiming is way too low. Any good mouse aimer is going to absolutely shred the living daylights out of you if you make yourself that easy of a target. This is how I get the majority of my kills and damage. I wait for people to start aiming, and because it slows them down so much, I end up ripping through them like wet tissue paper. It's like they're not even fighting back, because oftentimes they're not, because you're just trying to choose those proper engagements, and you want to flex the power of your rifles and LMGs, which is your time to kill. That is their most important factor, is how quickly they kill people. In my opinion, the weapons you should always reach for in fair fights like this are the Wingman, 99, Prowler, and shotguns. They allow you to move at full or very near full walking speed while aiming down the sights. They let you maintain your evasiveness, increase your survivability, while maintaining your lethality. Fast AD strafing and proper use of small hitboxes is the key in respawn games like we've already discussed, and I hope the gameplay here proves why. Now, I do want to explain that I don't think assault rifles and LMGs are bad. I know that I haven't implied that at all, but I know that YouTube commenters will make up that narrative, so let's dispel with that. Now, the R301 and the Spitfire in particular are extremely powerful guns, but you've got to use them in the proper situations to really flex their strengths. In my opinion, if you're going to aim these guns down sights, you should be targeting unaware enemies, or at least those you know you're going to get the first few shots off onto them, because aim punch is a thing. If you hit them first, their aim is going to be knocked off kilter. They're going to have a difficult time hitting you back. You want to use these guns as tools to safely shred through enemies presenting you with an easy target, but also be flexible enough to know when you've overstayed your welcome and need to fall back to either hipfire or another weapon entirely. The hipfire on both these guns in particular is actually pretty great, especially if you can mix in some slides without too much trouble. Slides give the same hipfire accuracy bonus as crouching does, so make use of it when you can. Even Destiny-style crouch spamming will work well enough some of the time because it's going to increase that hipfire accuracy and it's going to move your head around, going to move your chest around, make you harder to hit. In those early game fights like in Skulltown where you have gamers versus gamers, sweaties versus sweaties, and you're just trying to use whatever crappy gun you happen to find, in those early game fights where maybe you have armor, maybe you don't, crouch spamming can actually be super effective because people are going to be really aiming for those headshots. They want those battles to be done as quickly as possible and to keep as much health on their own character as they can. So crouch spamming can be good in these scenarios. And again, hip firing these guns is gonna be better than aiming them down sights in a lot of situations, just because it lets you move at that full walking speed. You're not a sitting duck. To say it in another way, while you never want to rely on the hipfire of these guns over something like an SMG, it's just never going to be as good, it's still good enough to use in a pinch if you have to. And it's this factor that makes these guns viable and high tier and good, whereas a similar alternative in the Havoc falls flat. The hipfire is simply too bad. The wind-up period is simply too much of a downside. In my opinion, two of the best guns in the game right now are the R99 and the Prowler, to nobody's surprise, I'm sure. They are, in my opinion, direct upgrades to the R301 and Spitfire respectively, since they do equally well at melting out-of-position targets as their heavier counterparts, while also sporting faster reloads, better hipfire, and faster move speed while being aimed down sights. This isn't to say that the R301 and the Spitfire aren't also top-tier weapons. They both have their own strengths as well, but they're simply more punishable than SMGs. They leave you more vulnerable. At the ranges where SMGs stop being super effective, the Wingman and Longbow remain fantastic as consistent damage weapons, but lack the shredding power or the time to kill of the 301 and Spitfire. Thus, an SMG plus either a Wingman or DMR, a 301 or Spitfire is the way to go for optimal loadouts, with shotguns being an accessible and acceptable SMG replacement in quite a lot of cases. It's tough to build out a fully perped out R99. It's very easy to get an EVA 8 with a purple bolt, or even a blue bolt. That is very easy. So in a lot of cases, these shotguns can replace your SMG for that close range, consistent damaging, shredding weapon, while your rifle is going to do your main work in catching your out of position targets. In conclusion, because respawn shooters always seem to follow the same core rules as to what's good and what's not, it's easy to predict the overall power level of any given weapon or legend that may in the future be added to Apex Legends. I didn't talk much about weapon TTK in this video because that just seems obvious to me. Alright, let's just explain real quick. The Alternator, for example, has many of the upsides of the R99, and it might even be easier to hit shots with consistently at longer ranges. I certainly believe that. However, the TTK is so horrendous, the damage per second is so poor, that the positives of that gun stop even mattering. So clearly, these are part of the equation, but it's not worth assaulting your intelligence by discussing the TTK as a major thing. You can figure that out for yourself. I hope that this viewpoint has been educational and enlightening to you. The purpose of this video was never to say conclusively that X or Y weapon was the best or the worst, useful or useless. But these base characteristics may not be intuitive to a lot of players, especially those new to respawn shooters. As always, if you disagree, or have had a different experience, especially on console where I do not play, I'd love to talk with you about that in the comment section down below, as long as it remains civil. As always, like and subscribe if you feel so inclined, and additional social links are in the description box as well. I'll see you soon. Take care.